Oh, love. You gotta love it. Everywhere you look, there it is. And in a city that never sleeps, how the hell do you really know who you're sleeping with? People can keep some very dirty secrets or fatally fatal flaws. As Charles is yet to ask his new fiance about the pig message left on Ben's dressing room mirror, he's on the fence about if his Joy could possibly be another Jan. But we're gonna have to put that conversation on hold for a second because they notice how Mabel's dressed very nicely as she tells them she's meeting Talbot to go on a stakeout on a lead, aka a date. Now, while love is in the air for our characters in this episode, they don't know if they're sleeping next to a liar or a lunatic, but let's put their hearts on ice for now because, well, we got a murder to solve. Welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back with our weekly Only Murders in the Building discussions, and this time we're talking season 3, episode 5, which was titled All Love. As Charles got a case of the MGDS, Oliver finds Loretta's secret journal, and Mabel may have let a liar into her life. We'll be discussing that and much more in today's spoiler breakdown, but first, let me know what you all thought about this 5th episode. What do you think about Loretta's secret journal? Is Talbot distracting Mabel from the case on purpose? And will Charles find a way to get his Joy back? Let me know your thoughts, your theories, your predictions, your Easter eggs, your clues, all in the comments below. We gotta figure out who killed Ben. Full spoilers ahead. Now back inside, Charles and Joy are headed out for a taste test for the wedding as Charles tries to bring up how did Joy's lipstick end up in Ben's dressing room. Now she deflects this and she actually takes offense of these allegations and heads out to this testing taste alone. Now while that's happening, we have the return of Zaz, who's here to celebrate Charles' engagement but ends up becoming his therapist. As we cut to Oliver, who arrives to Loretta's place for their date, as she prepares her overcooked chops, Oliver accidentally takes out her pull-out bed and makes things a little bit awkward. Now, is it me or did they make it a point to bring up that Loretta's microwave was broken and that she was forced to use her oven?
I'm a woman with a broken microwave, which is why I'm forced to improvise with this prehistoric broiler that I never use. I zap a perfectly pink one in my microwave, but it's broken, and now my timing, the temperature, all thrown off.
Anyone else think that maybe she made some cookies in the past and may have left them in someone's dressing room and that same person might have eaten them and might have been poisoned? That's where my mind's at right now. But speaking of dates, Mabel meets with Talbot and finds out that the person he thought was a suspect was Jonathan. But after following him around, he found nothing on him except that he's got an amazing singing voice and comes forth with this being a creative way to bring her out on a date. Now, I don't know if lying's a good way to start off any relationship, which makes me pose this question. Is all this a distraction to get Mabel off the focus of the case? Can we trust Talbot? Now, I know you're supposed to get to know someone when you're on a date, but the questions he's asking her seems to be stemming around Charles and Oliver and how they solved the previous murders. Sounds like someone who wants to find their weaknesses, and also sounds like someone that wants to know if he's on their murder board. He even says in this episode that luckily it's taken a bit longer for them to solve this case, as he continues to drink the night away with Mabel and gets her a little bit tipsy. Now, I know he's just being nice, he could be a nice guy, he's just taking notice of her interest, which happens to be murder. But let's take a look at this. The history of this show has shown us that Oscar back in season 1 and Alice in season 2, they like to make us think that Mabel's love interest can be the killer at first, only to find out that they're not. So could we be looking at this same example with this new relationship, or is Talbot potentially involved in the death of Ben? As Zaz shares her wacky theories that maybe the killer was trying to kill Charles because she's been hearing some chatter that some people wish that Charles was the one that died. Now, I wonder if that's a plot that we could be exploring in this season, or are they planning Easter eggs for a season 4 plot of someone out there trying to kill Charles? She drops more bombs on him as she lets him know that she has been talking to Jan and dating Jan. That's right, the killer from season 1, which I'm very curious if Jan will be a part of season 3 because they've already used that card of like, let's talk to a killer to try to find a killer. Let me know if you all would like to see Jan this season. I personally will because I like Amy as an actress, but I don't know if she will pop up in this 3rd season. But going back to Zaz, she doesn't believe that Joy is the killer and she wants to prove this by curing Charles' case of the MGDS, as she convinces him that his future wife isn't a killer and points out how Charles might be afraid of lowercase Joy, not uppercase uppercase joy, as Charles wants to do right by his new fiance, but it might be too little too late. Now back with Oliver, who loses a tooth in Loretta's chops, they have a laugh about it, and she brings up how she loves Oliver's little snort and brings up how many times she's played a pig in previous plays, and suddenly uses the exact same words that were found on Ben's mirror, and even brings up how much of a pig Ben was. Now we see Oliver kind of immediately connects the dots to her comments, but she avoids talking about what she meant, and things get a little bit silent, but Loretta comes up with this idea to take him somewhere special to fix his tooth. The special place is a ferry, as Oliver smokes a joint with Loretta that's been waiting to be smoked for decades, as he learns that she's been a fan of his for years and would have killed to be a part of one of his productions, but something's always went wrong or came up last minute. She claims that she thinks that maybe she's been cursed for something she's done in her past. Now, I find it very funny that she used the word curse, because if you all remember back in episode 1 of this very season, Oliver said that he was cursed with his recent issues with his productions. So I thought that was an interesting correlation that she used the word curse there, but I also don't think it's a coincidence that Loretta was at that same party where she got this joint from 40 years ago. Maybe Oliver was her first big obsession. We can do many things. One of them can lead to people divulging secrets, as Loretta reveals that she did call Ben a pig after getting into a fight with him opening night. She claims that Ben told her that she was obsessed with him and didn't want to be on the same stage with a no-name, and all this was right before he collapsed. But she wasn't the one who wrote on the mirror, she claims. As she shares her family tooth fairy tradition with Oliver, they ultimately kiss. Now, I 100% think that there is more to that story. While Loretta gets Oliver high, Talbot gets Mabel a little tipsy, as they see Jonathan acting very suspicious with the mystery guy, as he exchanges an envelope with him, but they end up getting noticed by Jonathan after Mabel bumps into Talbot and they make a scene. Now initially I thought this was going to be revealed to be that Moses Morris guy, but Talbot knows this mystery guy. He's Ben's private doctor and they call him Dr. C. So now the question is, what the hell was Jonathan and him talking about? What were they exchanging? Is this a potential misdirect? Is he having an affair with this doctor? Did he get some medical advice from the doctor? Or is it something more involved with Ben's murder? Let me know your thoughts on this conversation in the comments section, as we end this episode with Joy admitting that she was backstage with Ben opening night. Now, Howard had called her because Ben was hit in the face, and he obviously needed that to be gone, which answers our question about where that red mark came from. She helped him out, and she claims that she must have dropped her lipstick, and that's the end of her story. But she's not the only one that was keeping secrets that night, as it is revealed that Charles was indeed the person who hit Ben after seeing what happened between Ben and Loretta. Now that solves the question we had from last season. Who was Charles referring to with Ben when he said leave her alone? Well, I guess it's safe to assume that he was referring to the night where he saw Loretta and Ben getting into it, and he was talking to Ben about leaving Loretta alone. Stopping for a second, what exactly was Ben and Loretta doing up there? Why was he grabbing her? What is his side of the story? Hope we get to see what actually happened and if there is more to Ben's perspective of what happened there. But as Charles continues to put his foot in his mouth, he tells her that he accidentally proposed to her, and that just sucks all the joy out of the room, as Charles is ready to open up, but it's too late. She calls off the engagement. Now we see Talbot telling Mabel that he was confident about tonight, but he didn't expect to see her murder board, which goes back to me saying maybe this was all intentional and he wanted to see the murder board. Very interesting choice of words there. But now after showing him this board, she takes the lead, which leads him to the bedroom, which, speaking of bedroom, we see what Loretta and Oliver both had for dessert, as Loretta draws a bath and Oliver discovers a photo from a newspaper about Ben, as he finds a secret journal showing that she's been obsessing over Ben for his whole career. So right now, Oliver and Mabel both have romantic relationships, but which of these relationships are genuine, or are both of them working together to hide this murder? Speaking of working together, Where's Dickie? Where has he been this whole time? Is he as innocent as we see Loretta keep saying, oh, he's a sweet boy, he's a sweet brother? Where is Dickie during all this? But I can't shake the fact that Talbot continues to tell Mabel little lies. His initial story to her about why he was in Ben's apartment was a lie. His Eleven story was initially a lie, and now this whole let me get you on a date was a lie. I have a feeling that he has more lies and secrets he's not telling her, and I just can't put my finger on exactly what he's hiding, because again, this show has shown us that her love interest can just be a red herring. But let's talk about Loretta, who we're assuming is some type of super fan. It first started off with Oliver 40 years ago, and she just would kill to be in one of his productions. Did she kill Ben because she really wanted to be the headliner in his production? Is she some super obsessive fan of Ben? Did someone plant that journal in her apartment, or has she been following him his whole career? Going back to love interest, Joy didn't lie, but she did hold the fact that she went into Ben's dressing room the night that he ended up getting that poison in him, which also, just speaking of all the lies, the Loretta moment with Ben, was that a lie? Hell, even Charles didn't tell Mabel and Oliver about him punching Ben that night. So there are so many lies and so many made up stories being told right now that it's really throwing me off. So I don't know who to trust, who's telling the truth right now. There's a lot of deception going on, but overall, this was one of those episodes where they throw in every season where there's not necessarily a primary focus on giving us a ton of answers, but giving us some more questions. But at the end of the day, it still managed to give us some really good character moments in this episode, where you can look at Charles discovering that he's just afraid to let someone close to him again based on his past relationships, and also Oliver just wants to believe that Loretta's a good person and is really kind of clouding his judgment of all the different red flags he's given her so far. So very subtle episode, but some really interesting reveals nonetheless. So the question is, before we wrap things up, will Oliver immediately confront Loretta about what he found, or will he tell the others, or will he keep this to himself? Will Charles go after Joy and tell the crew that he hit Ben the night that he collapsed? Will Mabel trust Talbot in giving him more evidence, and will he help out solving this case, or is he someone we can't trust? And lastly, what's the deal with Dr. C and the sketchy situation going on with Jonathan? So many questions to be answered, but overall, this was a pretty solid episode. But hey, that's my thoughts, theories, and my breakdown of this recent episode of Only Murders in the Building. This is the fun part. This is where you all let me know your pros, your cons, your thoughts, your theories, your Easter eggs, your clues about this 5th episode in the comments below. I want to take the time to thank you all for watching this breakdown. Make sure you all hit the like button, as well as sharing today's recap breakdown review, and also leaving your thoughts in the comments, and of course consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you can stay up to date with all my daily content. You all have been awesome. Hope you're staying safe. Check out my other reviews that I've done so far from this show. Check out my most recent review, and I'll catch you all on the next breakdown.